Hi everyone and welcome back. If you are a content creator or you're thinking of becoming one, then you should watch this interview. Dom ONeill is a founder of Vlogify, and he helps many people create valuable and engaging content. In our interview, he shares many tips on how you can make your content even more interesting as well as professional. And he gives advice on how you can deal with the writer's block. For those of you who are exploring this career choice or who are thinking to use content to boost your sales and attract more customers, then this interview will give you many answers on how to do that. Before we continue with the interview, I wanted to share with you some points on what actually content creator does. What are the key responsibilities and how much they can earn? Content creation is useful for all sorts of businesses, and it's anything from writing blogs, writing news articles, to creating videos, podcasts, uploading images, memes, and managing social media. And a content creator always knows their audience and focuses on creating that specific right type of content to that specific end user. Salaries in the US can vary and can go from approximately $34,000 to $91,000 a year, according to Zippia, the career expert. And key responsibilities are writing, editing, proofreading, researching, uploading content, and interviewing other professionals to learn more about the current trends, the subject matter, and the developments. As a content creator, you have to be both creative and logical. You should be able to come up with great and creative ideas and use your critical thinking to come up with strategies on how to reach that end user. And the requirements would really depend on whether you're working on your own or for a company. If you're working on your own, then you should already know about editing and how to create engaging content. And in some cases, it's even preferable that you have a professional camera or a specific editing software. However, if you're planning to work for a company, then some places require you to have a bachelor's degree in marketing, media, communication, or a similar field. An understanding of SEO practices and experience in writing, editing, and proofreading. And if you have your own portfolio, that will give you a certain advantage. So let's enjoy the interview with Dom. Hi everyone, today we have Dom, who is the founder of Vlogify, and he's going to be talking a little bit about content creation, so stay tuned. So Dom, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what kind of work do you do?
Okay, well, I'm Dom ONeill and I run a company called Vlogify, and we help people make more money using content strategies. So we help mainly kind of entrepreneurs. We help a lot of digital nomads. We help a lot of medium to higher end business coaches, people usually who are maybe hitting around about $3,000 a month. We help them push through to 5+ K per month using content strategy. So that's video, that's YouTube, that is podcasting, that is blogging, and that's also social media posts as well. My background is I used to work for a large broadcaster in the UK. That's where I learned my content creation skills. And since then, I have been helping about 4 years now. After leaving the major broadcaster, I've been helping small to medium-sized businesses. Like I say, I like entrepreneurs. I like digital nomads. I like those kind of folk, and those are the people we really like to focus on helping.
Okay, that sounds interesting, Dom. And what would be the advantages of being a content creator and doing the work you do? Can you literally work from anywhere?
Yes, I think very much it's all about mindset. A lot of people think content creation is about the technology you have, and obviously the technology is an enabler. So if you have a nice camera, you will probably get better images. If you have a nicer light, you will probably get better lit, and therefore you'll look better on the camera. However, it's all about the mindset. It's a bit like, your top chefs don't aren't top chefs because they make beautiful food out of beautiful ingredients. The best chefs make beautiful food out of everyday ingredients. And so what we need to do as content creators is have a mindset of quality content doesn't actually necessarily mean an expensive camera. It doesn't necessarily mean being in a fixed studio. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a fixed office somewhere with lights already set up and a tripod and what have you set up. You know, you can, if you want to, hire freelancers who will have that kind of kit, and you just go into their studio and it's all done for you. I'm a huge fan of using freelancers for that kind of thing. But you know, I work all over the EU and often all over the world, in many different countries. And when you're traveling around, you can create amazing quality content just using your smartphone, just using your laptop, just using stuff which can easily go in the cabin bag on an aircraft. And that's the beauty of being kind of a modern day content creator. With the right attitude, you can still make really good quality stuff with literally a cabin bag's worth of equipment. If you need anything more, if you need anything bigger, then that is where freelancers can plug in and help you.
That's good. That's a good tip, because sometimes we feel like we have to do everything ourselves, no?
Yeah.
But we can find a team of people that can help us. And whether it's you or a freelancer, we can always work together.
Yeah, I mean, I was coaching a client a couple of weeks ago who was talking about getting a $2,000 camera. He was talking about getting this different lighting rig and stuff like that. And we worked out, and I sat down with him and worked out exactly kind of what it was that he was wanting to do most of the time. And actually the kit which he needed was more closer to £800 rather than, £2,000. And, there was some content which he wanted to make, which needed better quality equipment, but actually, he was wanting to do online courses. And so actually it made more financial sense to hire someone in to help him do that, because the quality which he needed was actually higher quality than he could do himself. Yes, he could have bought all the equipment, but he didn't know how to use the equipment. He didn't know how to edit. He didn't have a computer which could handle 4K editing anyway. And so I worked with this client to really work out what it is that he can do himself. And then we worked out the cost of getting someone else in to help him. And actually it worked out cheaper doing it that way.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Dom, what are the disadvantages of being a content creator? I'm sure like in every single job, we have some things that maybe are a little bit tedious or something that we don't like doing. What about content creation?
The problem with content creation is it's so broad. And especially when people start out in content creation, I've done this as well. It's so broad and there's so much flashy, shiny technology. There's so many evangelists saying, this is amazing, this thing's amazing. And it's so easy to get pulled in random directions and pulled off course. And that is probably the hardest bit about being a modern day content creator. There's always something new coming up. TikTok's this big thing which everyone's going mental for. But actually TikTok's kind of for younger teens. And so if your brand doesn't sell to young teens, it's a complete waste of your time and effort learning all this thing. And that's what I do sometimes find quite hard. And that's what my team, we work really, really hard on, making sure that we aren't just chasing fads. We aren't just chasing shiny equipment. When we do need to buy equipment, we buy the equipment that we actually need. And I say this to my clients as well, who I coach. It's like, yes, that camera is very pretty. And yes, it does have all these things, but do you need it? And that is the issue. You can just hemorrhage cash. Like content is one of those games where you can make a lot of money, but you can also hemorrhage an insane amount of money on kit, which either isn't right, or you actually don't use anywhere near as much as you think you will, or it's considerably harder to use. I have people who come to me and like, Dom, I bought this kit and I don't know how it's broken. And we look into it and it isn't broken. It's just the person hasn't got the time, the 10,000 hours worth of knowledge to know how to use it. And actually they'd be much better off spent just, hiring someone else to make that, work for them.
That's very true. And how do you come up with the content, like for yourself and for your clients? So where do you get those ideas and that inspiration?
Yeah, I mean, the whole point in content really is to look at what's in it for the audience. So most of us, some of us maybe want to be influencers. Some of us maybe want to be big YouTube stars. And that's fine. There's a very different kind of trajectory for those people who I'm not really getting involved with. It's a very different game. But for most of us who are wanting to run a business, and are wanting to use content to sell something we're already selling. So maybe we're wanting to sell a service, or maybe we're wanting to sell training or coaching or something like that. We have something which is already made, we have a business which is already created, but we're wanting to use content to sell it to other people. We need to really look at what the audience needs. You know, the audience will buy based on a need usually, unless you're selling something like fashion, where it's kind of more of a want. Most people, especially for B2B, it'll be more based around some kind of need. They specifically have an issue which you can solve. And so a lot of your content, especially more your middle funnel, end funnel stuff, will need to be about, going to your audience saying, I know you have this issue. This is how I can help. Do you want to have a further conversation on that? And that's in essence what a lot of my content is about. It's like, I know you have this issue. I know I can fix it. And then you're pushing X amount of people to maybe some kind of one-to-one or discovery call or phone call, something like that. So really the first port of call is finding out what issue your clients have. Why do people go to you in the first place? You know, unless you're selling food or electric or a utility, people don't necessarily need what you've got to survive. So why else are they coming to you? What is it that you're fulfilling? You know, if you're not selling fashion, then there's or something that is a want. Why are people coming to you? And trace it back, and then create content which pushes people towards somewhere online which you own, some kind of website or blog or YouTube channel, where you can then, you know, start real conversations with people and then push them towards some kind of discovery call, one-to-one sales call, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you have to think the same way as your audience thinks, so you can, because you're providing for them, right? Which leads me to my next question. So is it okay to have random content just to kind of fill in the space, or does it have to be specific to your theme? For example, if you're the Vlogify guy, right? So does your content have to be about content creation, or you can suddenly talk about something else? Is that going to influence your reputation?
It is a good question. And it often depends on how broad a church you want to go. The issue with being too broad, the issue with talking about too many subjects, is there's a chance your audience will get lost. And so if you're, for example, the content guy like me, and I'm talking about, you know, interior design, or I'm talking about something completely random, if I talk about it once in a while, it could be a talking point for people. But if I do it often, it then dilutes the message. So you need to have your core message very clear, and it's very easy that people have a good understanding of what your core message is. Now, I do a lot of posts on travel. I do a lot of posts on, digital nomadism, because I'm very much into that kind of thing, because I travel so much with what I do. I talk about the other broadcast jobs that I do. You know, I do quite a lot with the FA Cup in England. And so all that is kind of a bit removed from my, you know, core message, but it's also kind of sits alongside it. You know, it helps to tell the story of me. It helps to tell the story of Vlogify. If all you do is post, and I see this a lot with businesses, just posting, this is what we did today, this is what we did this week, this is what we're selling, this is what's on sale at the moment. People have a good, obviously, understanding of what it is that you do, but it's not particularly interesting. I mean, it's just like, look at me, look at me, look at me. And so you do have to get the balance between having a bit of personality and confusing your message. And especially on YouTube, it's very dangerous to confuse the message. On social media, you can have the odd random post, but you absolutely need to make sure that your core message is very easy to understand. The core message of who you are, what you do, what you help with.
I think YouTube has an algorithm, right? So if you start creating like random videos, YouTube is not going to recommend those videos to other people, because they will be confused themselves. No, what kind of videos, or what's your core business? So what are you talking about? YouTube basically wants people to watch for a long time. And if your videos jump from one thing to another, you'll excite an audience with one video, and then the next video will be like, well, what's that about? And so people will leave YouTube. And so YouTube will penalize you quite heavily for being extremely random. Social media, not so much. But you do personally risk confusing your audience. And people are so busy, there's so much data,
People are on their phones, they're watching on the bus. You know, if they're seeing you consistently and seeing you consistently with one message, that's really, really strong. And at the end of the day, social media is very nice, but we need it to do something. We need there to be a point. And if you're wanting to make some kind of sales based on social media, then you need to be very, very smart about making sure your core message is there.
That's very true. Many people wonder this a lot, especially content creators. I have wondered this myself. So what about your content? Does it have to be original? What I mean by this is, I mean, there's so much content out there on social media, on YouTube. And sometimes when you come up with an idea, you feel like, yay, nobody has talked about it. But then you realize you have like hundreds of videos of the same topic. So do you have to be original? Do you have to be different? Or you just keep producing the same content, but from your own perspective?
I mean, it is almost impossible to be truly original. You know, look at Hollywood. You know, boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. That is literally something that's been going around since Shakespeare's time. But every year it's boy meets girl on the moon, boy meets girl under the sea, boy meets girl on an airplane that's crashing. You know, and it's looking at, look at what other people who are doing similar things to you are doing, right? Don't just copy it. Don't just copy and paste it. Don't plagiarize it, obviously, because, you know, if someone wants to watch that video, they'll just watch the other guy doing it.
Of course,
you know, but if you could get your, if you can get your take, either, you know, you can either reference that video and say, this is my take on this, or you can completely reshoot it in your own way. It's very hard to be absolutely new and absolutely unique. And if you're selling to an audience, there's a very good chance that someone else will have come up with something prior to you. So what you have to do is make that story unique to you and unique to your brand. Don't be too worried about having to make everything perfect, and don't be too worried about having to make everything completely brand new, because it's, you know, at the end of the day, you need to put a message out a lot. You need a consistency of message. And so getting the message out is the most important thing. And if, you know, you want to parody something, if you want to use the essence of someone else's work, that's fine. If you are directly ripping it off, obviously that's not fine. And people will notice, people will spot it.
Sure. I also heard that it's important to have your own personality because, for example, I'm sure there are many people that talk about content creation, right? But some people might love you because they love your personality, they love your content, so they will come back to you. So I think also creating like kind of like this personality around you and finding your followers, I think that's also important, right?
Absolutely, 100%. You know, you need to have some kind of personality. People buy from people. And so if you don't have a personality, it's very hard then for people to interact and engage. It's very hard for you to build a relationship. And the whole point is that you are building a relationship with people who don't know you. So there's a big argument that you should use your content to sell to people who are already buying from you, but sell more to them. Educate the people who are also buying from you to buy more. But a good chunk of you know, your income from content will be coming from selling to people who don't know you. And so, you know, a really big thing there is to build a relationship. And without a bit of personality there, you don't have to be the shouty guy. You don't have to be the, you know, hysterical YouTuber. You can still be very much you, but you just need to kind of look at, you know, the highlights of who you are and kind of make sure the good bits are projected more than maybe the bad bits. But you did need to have a good idea about what your brand stands for and also what you stand for. And your own personal voice, because that's what people will either engage with or disengage with.
That's true. What about, like, we talked about getting the ideas and coming up with ideas. So one time I've heard that it's also important to kind of engage with your community, right? Engage with your subscribers, engage with your followers, etc. So what would be the best way to kind of engage with them? I've heard that there are like polls, you can just ask questions like during the videos. Maybe you have other suggestions on how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, mine your frequently asked questions on your website, mine your frequently asked questions on social media. I maybe put a spreadsheet together with all the most asked questions. And that kind of, you know, when you're having a brain drain or you're having, you know, a bit of writer's block, you can then go to those, that spreadsheet and say, right, lots of people are asking about that. Let's make content about that. And you then know that because a number of people have asked about it, that is something that your audience is interested in. I'm a big fan of, Facebook groups. So I've got a Facebook group where I have a lot of clients in, a lot of past clients in, a lot of clients that potentially I want to get back, or I want to, people I want to have as clients. And a good part of having that Facebook group is there's a lot of questions being asked. And often it is the same questions being asked by the same people at different parts. So it's a really good place to find out where those people are in their journey. Because someone asking about, what camera should I use, is clearly at the very start of the journey. Someone asking the question, what green screen equipment should I use, is somewhere very much further into the journey. So from, a sales point of view, that's really helpful. But also from a questions point of view, if I'm creating content for people towards the end of the sales funnel, then obviously green screen stuff is potentially more interesting. If I'm creating stuff for people at the start of the sales funnel, then a lot more basic questions about what camera should I film on is more useful. But a basic spreadsheet, make sure you're monitoring your social media. There's a lot of people who just blast out on social media and don't check anything back. They don't reply to comments. There's always questions and comments. A lot of my content over the last year is generated from comments in past contents. And then the beauty of that is the person who asked the question, you can tag them in to the next post, and when you tag people in, it then sends that content directly to them, and because they're tagged in and because you're talking about something they talked about, it starts to create a bit of conversation between you and that person.
Yeah, that's actually very smart. You get more interaction and people feel like you're also replying, and you care about them as well, right? So
absolutely. I mean, that works really well for knowledge experts, people who are selling not only their skills, but they sell themselves. So I work with a lot of coaches. I work with a lot of people who are plug-in IT experts, plug-in Facebook ad experts. So they work with companies who don't have an in-house person. And for a lot of their clients, they're not only buying the skills, but they're buying the person. They want to know that that person can work well with their marketing manager. They want to know that that IT person can work well with their staff. And a good way of showing people that you can be worked with is to demonstrate your personality in your content. Because then by the time they go for a sales call, they already have a really good idea about who you are and your personality and how you deal with others.
Sure. And do you need to have certain skills to be a content creator? I mean, some people are afraid to be in front of a camera. Some people don't know how to edit, for example. Do you have to learn some sort of skills, or you develop them throughout the time, or you just hire someone to do it for you?
It depends what level. So if you're wanting to sell yourself as a content creator, you obviously need to have a high level of skill. So if you're wanting to go out and say, hey, I will make you a video, you will need to have a decent knowledge of, well, depending what price you charge, but you'll need to have a decent knowledge of how to use a camera, how to set up a shot, decent lighting. You'll need to have your own editing software. You need to understand how to edit. And that is a big time investment on the training, and it is a big cost investment on the equipment. Now, if you are a business owner and you're just looking to create some disposable content for yourself, then potentially to start off with, you need to learn how to shoot nice videos on the iPhone and edit it on iMovie. And so it's a different proposition that if you're wanting to do it and sell it on, you need a far higher level than if you're a person who's literally just looking to make some disposable videos for social media. Now, if you're wanting to create more evergreen videos as a business, stuff on YouTube, which then goes on your website, I would absolutely recommend, if you do not like presenting, if you do not like filming, if you don't particularly like editing, that you maybe hire in people, freelancers who can help you with that. Your evergreen videos are the ones that will be around for much longer. They'll sit on your website. They'll sit on places on the internet which you have ownership of, where people maybe are towards the end of the sales funnel. Therefore, it is worth investing a lot heavier in your evergreen content than in your disposable content. So I work with a lot of my clients at the moment to work out what level of content they're happy creating and they have time to create. There's all very well being able to create content, but actually, if you're very good at your business, you will run, you'll start to get busy with this content. So it's working out what you actually are capable of creating and you have time to create. So once you work that out, you can then work out what content you then need to hire others to help you with, and you can then get prices on that. And it will often work out cheaper for your evergreen videos to hire a freelancer because they spread the cost of that equipment against all their clients. You know, a good freelancer might have 200 clients a year, and so they can pay 5-10 grand for a camera because they're spreading it across 200 clients a year, and they keep it for 3 years. Is it worth you paying £10,000 for a camera? Possibly not. I mean, I'm a content creator, and there's no way I'd spend £10,000 on a camera because my mate has one, and his mate has one, and I can hire them to come and help me when I need it.
Yeah, sure. And the last question for today, I would like to talk about creativity and the writer's block that you mentioned before. Like sometimes when you want to create a video, because for example, sometimes it's about consistency, right? But you don't feel inspired. Should you wait until you get that aha moment and you get inspired, or should you just create something?
It's a good question. It is a good question. So writer's block is very bad, and it usually comes when you get extremely busy. So when you have a lot of time and you're not maybe generating much money from content, it's very easy to do content. And this is where people kind of zigzag. It's like they've got lots of time, so they spend a lot of time on content, and then they generate a lot of income. Therefore, they become extremely busy. And you need to be consistent with your content. So that's why I always say I work with my clients to work out what they can consistently do themselves. And writer's block will usually come when you're too busy with other things. There's only so much the human brain, you know, I remember I've listened to a podcast that said that the human brain can handle around about 2,000 complex questions every day. And then after that, you just start to lose the ability to deal with it. Also, you know, content creation is very much a creative brain thing, not an analytical brain thing. So often when people get busy with their work is quite analytical. A lot of jobs are quite analytical anyway, and therefore they're in the wrong brain mode for creating content. And so that's where kind of having, you know, for when this time happens, you know, you have a list of your frequently asked questions. I will often, if I know I have a very unbusy period. So for example, August is usually relatively quite light because a lot of the decision makers are away on holiday. People aren't necessarily filming. And it's the same with between the 20th of December, the 20th of January, it's quite light. So what I will do is I will batch create quite a lot of really high quality evergreen content and semi-disposable content at that point. And so if I have times in the year where, you know, September and May are usually unbelievably busy, like pedal to the metal kind of stuff, you know. And so during those months when I might be having block, I can then pull on my bank of content I made in August or in January to fill in the blanks where I've lost my creativity or I'm too busy to be creating new things. And so it's just looking at a plan for the year. And this is what I work with a lot of my clients on, looking at the plan for the year. Look at when might be busiest, look at when you might have more time to create content, and always have around about a month's worth of content saved in a Dropbox somewhere.
That's a good idea.
Also, also look at your most popular content. So your most popular disposable content, ones that have either trended well or got loads of comments or have generated you phone calls or one-to-ones, and save those and keep them in the Dropbox as well. And then, because there's no reason why you can't reuse your best content. You know, the internet's so busy, people are so busy, their lives are so still, you know, there's coronavirus, there's recessions and all that kind of stuff. You know, people's lives are busy. They may not remember that you posted that video 3 months ago.
True.
And you know, I've had it where someone who has liked the video prior has liked the video again and then asked the question because it re-triggered something in their mind, you know. So actually your best content, even though it's maybe disposable content, you can reuse your best content again. So always have a pool on hand, and if you run out of creative juice for a short while, then you've got something to fall back on, because you need to try and be consistent. And that's what I work with all my clients on. Consistency really pays. And if you have a week off, or if you're ill for a week, it's not that big a deal. But if you do 3 months solid and then you've got 6 weeks off, you've lost all the momentum, you know. And so you need to have structures in place to deal with writer's block because it comes, and you need to have structures in place to deal with being too busy to create content, And a simple way of doing that is having a Dropbox of emergency evergreen content.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great advice. Well, thank you, Dom, for coming today and having this interview with me. Actually, I learned a lot, and I'm sure many people will learn a lot as well. I will leave your details also in the comment section below, so in case people want to contact you and they have other questions. Well, thank you so much.
That's right. It's a pleasure. Can I just say, I've got a Facebook group. If you want to join the Facebook group, head over to vlogify.net/video success, and there's a link to the group there. I would lovely to have you as part of the group.
I will also leave the link below as well.
Cool, man. That's perfect. Okay, cheers, pal. Thanks for that.
Thank you, Dom.
Bye.
Bye.